guys and gals, Never here from Drake Wing Game, and some of you on Twitter, the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you with a Let's Play episode of Kingsguard, Leandros' Path. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm chain, you are up, and let's go. Alrighty. You honestly didn't think he would drop his guard and fall for your ploy, but you managed to get your revenge. Jake. So you still haven't had enough of your tricks, have you? Well then, it seems that you may need to learn yet another lesson. He started forth, and you scurried back. Hold on now, Leandros, and don't do anything rash. It was just a joke, you know. Ha 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 ha. Your nervous laugh didn't seem to change the look on Leandros' face. I order you to stop moving at once. You wouldn't hurt your king, would you? Leon? Ah! And then he died. You waited and expected the worst, but all you felt was a few droplets of cold water drip down upon your head. Had enough? As you looked on at the face of the lion, you found that he wasn't angry with you. Rather, he let loose a handful of water that poured down on your head and rivered across your body. You shivered once more, recalling just how cold the bathwater was. I'm alive? You had to check yourself over once more just to be sure. I hope you learned your lesson this time. Tug on the lion's tail enough times and you might wind up in its jaws. You really can't take a joke at all, can you? Not one in such poor taste is feigning death. You're right, I guess I might have gotten carried away there. I'm sorry. As long as it doesn't happen again, you nearly gave me a heart attack. I'm glad to know that you care so much about me. You know that I always care about you. That I'll always run to you if you're in trouble. Except for when you leave when this war is over. Do you really have to leave me? Jake, please understand that this isn't an easy decision for me. I wish I could stay, but I just can't continue on with my life the way I am now. And it really isn't because of me? I'd be lying to say that it wasn't, but not in the sense that you think. I'm not leaving because of anything you've done. I'm leaving because I just need to find myself again. And a vacation won't do? I'm afraid that a vacation may be far too short. But Jake, know that right now my sole focus is on ending this war and keeping you safe. My decision is for the future. There's much time between then and now. And who knows? Maybe The distance between the two of you vanished as you rushed forward. You'd only meant to give him a hug, but in the heat of the moment you did something more intimate. This time, though, Leandros didn't have a chance to stop you. Or maybe he had plenty of time and didn't. Still, your lips pressed against his deep as you leapt at him to meet his height. Upon your surprise, you found Leandros catching you, wrapping his arms around you to support you before letting you down easy. Fact. Me hungry. No. Yet, despite a second turning into a minute or two, the two of you didn't part. It was only once you needed to catch your breath did you finally break contact. Jake! You don't have to say anything. I already know. Things won't work out between us, even if I am king. I'm sorry that I forced myself on you like that, but if you really are planning on leaving me forever, at least compromise with me. Just let me have this one moment. Let me be my old selfish self just once. Could I make just one more selfish request? What is it? Could you just hold me? Hold me as though you were going to vanish tomorrow. Leandros' wet fur was surprisingly warm as you became pressed deep into his body. Even though the cold was starting to get to you, you wished that you could just stay like that forever. Jake? We should probably get out. Just a few more minutes. We don't want you catching anything. I'll be fine. Ugh! Jake! You tried to stifle your sneeze when instead your snot ran out and stuck to Leandros' fur. Are you alright? Yeah, I think so. I'm sorry. Let's get you back to the hut. I'm fine, You shivered and a large string of mucus dripped down from your nose and wobbled in the wind. Your head felt woozy and knees began to shake. Excuse me. Okay, let's head back. Leandros made a quick visit to Ayana and Jaws and returned with fresh clothes and medicine to help with your cold. The taste was so beyond bitter you wondered if you might end up becoming even more sick. but drink every last drop is what she, or rather Jaws, said, and Leandros made sure there was no left. After you got a fire going, you sat so close to the edge with your toes and fingers stretched out they might have caught on fire. No! Jesus. That leaves little to the imagination. Something to help keep you warm. Leandro stripped a blanket over your shoulder and started to set up a pot over the fire for cooking. How are you feeling? Well, my nose is runny and I'm not sneezing as much anymore. Hopefully it will pass by tomorrow. Once he had his cooking rig set up, he began throwing ingredients into the pot to prepare the two of you some cod stew using fish that Jaws had caught. Despite his injuries, Jaws was far too eager and impatient to stay in bed and rest. He kept saying how he had to make up for attacking you and, among other things, that he kept mumbling under his breath. You tried to convince him that it was alright, but there was no stopping him. He was stubborn and more determined than ever after that incident, so you couldn't help but feel relieved. Even Leandros seemed to be slightly worried, asking about how he was, though his questions seemed more about inquiry than about concern. You've been silent for a while. Huh? I'm just thinking about things. Oh? Like what? Like how you're not cold-dressed in just your skivvies. I am standing over a roaring flame making a boiling pot of soup. Plus, I have fur. It helps keep me warmer than you think. True. The past several nights you had to distance yourself from Leandros while you slept. The amount of heat that he gave off nearly made you sweat. You almost thought about sleeping on the floor. Sorry, I imagine you probably don't want to see me dressed like this, though. I'll put something on in a moment. It's alright. I mean, you know. Ah, right. The minutes slowly passed as you remained silent. You tried to keep yourself from eyeballing Leandros, but you couldn't help it. It had been nearly 2.5 weeks now since you had visited Rosa's Cathedral, and your urges were beginning to become much too much to bear. There were times where you had to go away and relieve yourself, but the intimate company of another was what you wanted, and Leandros standing there nearly half naked wasn't helping. Still, you learned to take a deep breath and let your mind wander on other things, like Corello's lessons or the hours of listening to the plights of people once you return home. That was usually enough to settle yourself down. Alright, looks about done. Here you are. Leandros labeled a large helping of fish stew and handed the bowl to you. Thank you. It's probably not going to be as good as Iana's, but hopefully it'll be to your liking. Heh, to be honest, I forgot that you know how to cook. You learn a lot when you become a knight, even more once I became a Kingsguard. Defending you with a sword is just a portion of the training I received. You're about to take a sip when your nose started to act up again. Leandros was quick to pull your dinner away and replace it with a cloth just before you sneezed. You wiped away anything that still clung to your nose. As you handed him back the used cloth, he took it with the tips of his claws at arm's length, obviously less than eager to make the trade back. Thank you. It's no problem at all. Make sure you eat all your soup, though. A fish head bobbed on the surface and stared back at you. You closed your eyes and gave it a taste, trying your best to pretend that the fish head wasn't still there staring back at you. You don't have to eat the fucking fish head! As soon as the spoon hit your mouth, you opened your eyes. It's really good. You had to admit, you were surprised. It wasn't as exquisite or complex like the chefs back at the castle, but it wasn't bad. You felt compelled to take a few more quick sips and grinned. I'm glad that you like it. Yeah, it's much better than I expected. You sound like you're expecting it to taste bad. Well, I wasn't sure what I was expecting. This is the first time you've ever made food for me. I've made things for you before. You have? I suppose you might have been too young to remember. That, and I never needed to cook for you that often when we had plenty of chefs back at the castle. Well, I'm glad that I got to try your cooking. I now really am hungry. I want some stew. You'll have to make me some more things in the future. Perhaps when we're on the road, then. I'm not a bad hunter either, and I've learned a few things with the animals I've caught to eat. Boar, deer, rabbit, lion. Cannibalism is not something to joke about. I don't know if you can really call it that. Though now I'm a bit curious. About what? What lion tastes like? You wouldn't. Grilled on both sides for 10 minutes, sprinkle on a little salt and pepper. Now I think I'm gonna be sick. The soup didn't last long. The two of you found yourself scraping the bowl for thirds. It took not but a few moments before you regret your actions as you clutched your stomach in pain, cursing yourself for being such a glut and losing self-control. It was so worth it. I'll have to remember to make this for you next time. You mean for yourself? Heh, well, you know how much I love cod. To be honest, I was a bit frightened to take a bite with that fish head floating in my bowl. Ah, sorry about that. I must not have seen it when I served you. But it adds a lot of flavor. I think I may be able to forgive you for that, then. You couldn't even think of a dessert when Leandros looked and found some dried fruits and nuts around the base for something else to snack on. You poked his stomach and teased him, but the minute a frown crossed his face, you had to remind him that he wasn't really out of shape. With your stomachs full, you sat next to the fire and chatted. You didn't have much to tell him that he didn't already know. In the past, he was the only one in the castle who would ask you about your day and spend the time listening. Instead, he spoke of stories of his time out in the world, the one that you had been closed off from for so long. A few more of his adventures riding atop the waves here in the Red Sea, but they didn't seem as grand as when you were a kid. Sorry, that was probably not the most exciting tale. No, it was good, just a little bit tired. Probably time for us to get some sleep then. It's been a long day today, but it'll be even longer tomorrow. We want to be full rested. Leandro spent a bit of time fluffing up the bed as best as he could and then waited for you. You stifled another yawn and got into the bed, shuffling around to make yourself as comfortable as possible. You pushed yourself a bit closer to the edge to give him more room and felt the shifting of the haze he got in as well. Night, Leandros. Good night, Jake. Just as you were about to fall asleep, you felt a pair of arms wrap around and pull you in close. It was so sudden that at first you believed you were being attacked, but as your body was pressed right up against the soft and warm chest, you realized what was happening. The sound of a heartbeat softly in your ears, a soothing heat radiating off his chest and arms staved off the cold, and a lush, soft, and well-kempt mane, softer than the clouds, brushed your neck. He nestled his snout to the crane of your neck and breathed in deeply. The resulting exhale of heat tickled your back. Leandros? You felt him relax his arms suddenly, and a gasp of realization escaped his lips. I'm sorry. What are you doing? He didn't stir, but you could feel his hand already beginning to retreat. I just wanted to smell you one more time. He released you, then turned around, his heat dissipating as he distanced himself from you. He was likely at the edge of the bed now, but you dared not turn around. The silence was unpleasant, and the tension would have frozen the air if not for the fire. Leandros. You wanted to ask him why he did that. It was probably related to some kind of animal habit, but some part of you was hoping it was something more. What do I smell like to you? Leon? You smell like home. Home? It's hard to describe. You have a soft scent, like lavender and roses, but underneath it is a rich, earthy taste, like wet soil. Lavender and roses? I still smell like that? By this point, if you didn't, I would be concerned. I'm concerned if it's already becoming ingrained in my skin. You lifted your arm and tried to smell underneath. You didn't exactly get the same scent that he was smelling. I don't really smell it. I suppose it's not so much a scent as it is a feeling. That's kind of strange. And what is it a feeling of? Loneliness. You have always smelled like that to me, and I know it is my fault. Leon, I know that I probably can't change your mind, but when you really do leave when all this is over, is there any chance that you might still keep in contact with me? To let me know that you're still doing all right? Even just a letter. I'll try. As the fire started to peter out, you were left alone to your thoughts. You slowly shut your eyes to await for the new day. You went from tapping your feet to pacing around, your anxiety displayed on your face as though it were drawn in ink. It was unlike Jaws to keep you waiting, and you were beginning to suspect that something had happened to him. Jake, be patient. I'm sure he'll be here soon. You turned towards your Kingsguard, who seemed to be more concerned with your eagerness rather than the well-being of your friend. Though that was to be expected. Leandros never really did fully trust the shark after the incident with the sword. As hard as you tried to convince him that Jaws was on your side, there was some seed of doubt still lodged in his heart. It came with being your guardian all his life, and it kept you safe from harm even if there were no present dangers. Leandros, are you sure he said to wait here? Unless there's another dock around here that I don't know about. You wanted to leave and search for the Beastman. If he didn't show up soon, the ship was bound to leave without him. Aren't you worried? It's been nearly half an hour now. He might have just been caught up in something. In any event, I thought you would have a bit more trust in him. That's the reason I'm worried. He wouldn't just up and vanish without at least saying goodbye. Your concern first started when you and Leandros had ventured off to meet with Jaws at dawn. When you discovered he wasn't home, your first instinct was that he might have gone to see Ayana, but she was the only one within her hut. It surprised you to find that even Ayana hadn't seen Jaws since last night. At least that was how you interpreted her signs. Even as you asked around the village, no one had seen fin nor tail of the Beastman as well. I'm sure he's alright. He's a Beastman after all. Even Beastmen aren't invincible. What? Ayana has been standing on the shore this whole time. I wonder if she's hiding more than she's letting on. You think so? As you looked back toward the island, there she was, slightly hidden in the shade of some palm trees. You thought you spotted Jaws beside her, but after a quick blink, you could tell your eyes had deceived you. After the incident with your sword, they were nearly inseparable. Yet there she was, standing alone near the shore, looking at the sea. Her attention seemed to be solely devoted to the large trade ship that had arrived yesterday afternoon. The trade ship in the distance wasn't anything special. To be honest, even from afar, it looked a little banged up and worse for wear. It was a wonder it could still even float. Alright, y'all, I'm going to pause it right there. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Alright, y'all, I'm tired. I'm going to relax for the evening. Alright, I love you all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye!